live. Albus is screaming. Is it Albus?
It is Albus, yes. What?
All right. Let's go ahead and begin. Hello, fellow galactic listeners. I'm here. Let's try again.
Are you?
I can be. Hello, fellow galactic listeners. I'm Aaron Julian, and this is WSTR Galactic Public Access, a Star Wars podcast. Welcome to episode 348. We hope you and yours are well, and with everything crazy going on, we want to continue to be a platform that promotes positivity, life, and hope, and a little Star Wars along the way. Today, we have a very chill, very subdued episode of WSTR. I've got my warm tea here. We've got cats, and it's just me and Heather. So welcome back, Heather.
Thanks. In case you hear some extra chatter in the episode, this is the cause. Mwah.
We got Albus.
But it's good to be here.
All right, we're talking today.
Yes.
This is our Star Wars Contributions series, and we're taking a look at author Alan Dean Foster. But before we seek out the powerful Akai Burr crystal, Heather, why don't you go ahead and tease the news?
Will do. All right. News tease item number 1. It is a date then?
Okay.
Are we dating? Are we not dating? No. Number 2.
Are we not? What are we?
Don't call it a comeback.
Been here for years.
Our third one is the champ.
Right on.
And then last but not least, thank you. I don't know what
All
for.
Right. Thank you to viewers like you for supporting your local PBS station.
There you go.
Okay. With that, I almost said the tease is news. The news is teased. Let's go ahead and jump into our main topic. Okay, we are talking about Alan Dean Foster. Who is this man? What is he doing on a Star Wars podcast? Well, I'll tell you. Alan Dean Foster has the honor of basically creating the first installment of what would become to be known as the Star Wars Expanded Universe, now known as Legends. So New Hope comes out, and right away, Alan Dean Foster, he is actually the ghostwriter for the movie novelization. If you don't know, at least they used to, I don't know if they still do, but a lot of movies used to have novelizations that would release alongside the movie. It's supposed to be basically the movie in book form. And Star Wars was no exception. And there was obviously Star Wars became a huge hit, but before it released, in addition to the novelization, Alan Dean Foster wrote a sequel called The Splinter of the Mind's Eye. And basically this was supposed to be like a low budget, kind of low stakes sequel. And in his contract, there was a clause that like this could be made into a movie. So he kind of wrote with that in mind. And hello, Tilly. With that in mind, as I'm being blocked by my kitty's tail. With that in mind, he kind of wrote it to be low budget. For example, Han Solo is not in this story, because Harrison Ford was not contracted for any sequel movies, unlike Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. They were, so Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia show up. That's basically what Alan Dean Foster is most known for when it comes to his contributions to Star Wars. And Splinter of the Mind's Eye, I don't know how successful it was, but it basically got overshadowed by the huge success that A New Hope was. So they ended up not going with that story for the sequel because they wanted a bigger budget one, and so The Empire Strikes Back was developed. But then much later, Alan Dean Foster, he would write a prequel era novel, The Approaching Storm, and he also wrote the novelization for The Force Awakens in 2015. So he's had a on again, off again relationship with Disney and Lucasfilm. And he also wrote a bunch of things for Star Trek. Yes.
Do we know? So I in my research for the episode this evening, I see that he was mainly a ghostwriter, specifically on that novelization. Is that true for the other ones, The Approaching Storm and The Force Awakens, or was he given credit?
He was given credit.
He was okay.
By then, he was like a known name within Star Wars land.
Nice.
The original novelization for Star Wars, he did not receive credit. He was a ghostwriter. George Lucas's name is on there, but he was actually asked if it was difficult to see basically George Lucas getting the credit for his writing, and he said, not at all. It was George's story idea. I was merely expanding upon it. Not having my name on the cover didn't bother me in the least. It would be akin to a contractor demanding to have his name on a Frank Lloyd Wright house. So that goes to show how much respect he had for George.
For sure.
Whatever you think about ghostwriting, it is a somewhat common practice in the publishing industry. Heather, I don't know if you have any experience with that. But that is how Alan Dean Foster got his start.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, so I work at a book publisher. So we have many books that have had maybe not true ghostwriters, but it's definitely been like major person with so-and-so in a lot of
is
our
that the with credit means like someone basically tidied it up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I'm familiar with ghostwriter. I just wasn't sure, was he always a ghostwriter or was that just sort of an initial thing? So,
I mean, he's had a long career in fantasy and science fiction. He's written like more than 20 standalone novels. He's got many novelizations of film scripts, including for Alien, I believe. And he's also written several book series. So he's working. He's a working author.
Cool.
But yeah, this is his biggest contribution to Star Wars was Splinter of the Mind's Eye, and the beginning of the expanded universe as we know it. So, speaking of Splinter of the Mind's Eye, it is, like I said, a kind of low budget sequel option for Star Wars. And this is published less than a year after the release of Star Wars. And it basically, it's set 2 years after the Battle of Yavin. And Luke Skywalker and Leia are going to the planet Mimban, which we do see show up in Solo.
Okay.
And they're looking for a powerful Kyber crystal. Kyber spelled Kaiburr. So this is actually the first time that Kyber crystals have shown up in Star Wars. This particular one is I guess it's different than the ones that we're familiar with in terms of like powering up lightsabers. This is like the size of like a soccer ball. And it's like a force relic of great power, which basically magnifies your abilities with the force. So first time we're seeing Kyber crystals. Unless I vaguely recall Kyber crystals being a part of George Lucas's original drafts for Star Wars. I could be misremembering, but they're kind of made into being in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. We're not going to run down through the whole plot of the novel, but essentially it's like a side quest that Luke and Leia go on, trying to find this kyber crystal. They have some run-ins with Darth Vader. Oh no! You shootouts here and there, blim blam boom, and then off they go. I mean, it's exactly what you would expect with Star Wars of that time.
Sure.
R2D2 and C3PO come along for the ride because you need your droids. There's a secret base of stormtroopers on Mimban. And so yeah, it's classic pulp adventure stuff.
Yeah.
So that is basically mostly of what Alan Dean Foster contributed to Star Wars, but there's another little kerfuffle, little snafu that kind of brought him back into the limelight a few years ago. And this is after Disney bought Lucasfilm. So,
okay.
So in 2019, or I should say 2015-ish to 2018, after Disney bought Lucasfilm, Alan Dean Foster, he had contracts with Lucasfilm for the novels that he wrote, that he would get royalty payments from them based on their sales. This is paperback sales of it, as well as digital copies as they would become available later. And after Disney bought Lucasfilm, he suddenly stopped receiving royalty payments. So, and that includes the original Star Wars novelization and Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Then a few years later, Disney took control of 20th Century Fox. And in the same way, suddenly he stopped getting royalty checks for other novelizations that he did, like the Alien novelization. And yeah, it's a whole thing. Then in 2019, he basically gave up trying to deal with Disney, and he turned to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America Grievance Committee, which I believe is basically like a union for science fiction and fantasy authors, or like a nonprofit. And they basically stepped in to settle the dispute. After an entire year of going back and forth from Disney, and Disney just saying no, the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America decided to go public, and they basically said, hey, Disney's not paying Alan Dean Foster or other authors for the publishing rights to the books that they acquire. And this is from Mary Robinette Cowell, who is the SFWA's president at the time. She commented, "In my decade with the organization, the fact that we are forced to present this publicly is unprecedented."
Those are big words.
Luckily, after it went public, Disney finally did reimburse these authors for their royalty payments, including Alan Dean Foster. But there's also other Star Wars novelization authors, James Caan, Donald F. Glut, who are also due royalties. So interpreting this charitably, this is something that just kind of fell through the cracks, where you have one media conglomerate acquiring another media conglomerate. There's thousands upon thousands of different contracts and negotiations that need to be dealt with. And here and there, something might slip through, like, fine. But the fact that they kept fighting about it and refused to pay, and it took going public for it to happen, and with someone who's as important to Star Wars history as Alan Dean Foster, not a good look, Disney. Not a good look.
Seriously. I mean, if this was the man that was entrusted to the first novelization, he's kind of a big deal. And again, not to like toot my publishing horn, but like we've done mergers and acquisitions, and that should have been something in a legal department somewhere that someone was paying attention to, and or at least
Yeah.
changed the contract or had conversations, not just stopped paying them.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead, someone was like, all these authors we're supposed to pay. What if we don't?
Ooh.
What if we just said no and we can get away with it because we're Disney until they couldn't?
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's scummy.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I mean, I had no idea they existed, but having this like basically like a writers union to like help protect each other, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. There's a whole article in not Variety. It's the Hollywood Reporter. There's a whole article in the Hollywood Reporter about the whole royalty kerfuffle if you want to read about it. So go check that out.
Nice.
But Heather, getting a lay of the land of the whole situation, what are your thoughts on whether it's the publishing dispute or Splinter of the Mind's Eye? What you feeling? What's your vibe? We're doing a vibe check here.
Ooh, vibe checks. You know, I think I can't help but relate it to how I feel about Amazon. When a business or group or what have you gets so big that they can sort of just do whatever the heck they want to do without like thinking through things, that really upsets me. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I can understand if there was like you were saying, like a hiccup or something took time, or, you know, oh, that got missed, or oh, we're still reviewing contracts, or again, even like, hey, since it was purchased out, we're reviewing what previous decisions were made and what we want to do moving forward. But it sounds like none of those conversations were taking place. And
nope.
It's not like in the purchasing of Lucasfilm, they didn't know that they were purchasing kind of a gold mine. Like,
right?
Star Wars was successful. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to save this dying little science fiction show. So it kind of feels like a scumbagy kind of decision, if I
That's
dare
because it
say so.
is.
Oh, good. Okay. So, but yeah, that's sketchy. But I mean, I suppose, you know, nobody's perfect, and I don't want to constantly be Pollyanna on this podcast. I mean, a mistake could have been made, but the length of time that it appears between the purchase and this discovery seems like too long.
Yeah, and consider also that Solo came out 2018, and it was like after that they acquired the publishing rights to. Well, actually, it was right around that time, and they were happy to, you know, use Splinter of the Mind's Eye, borrow Mimban, that whole idea. They just didn't want to pay the dude, so not cool.
Yeah,
not great.
Yeah. So now, Aaron, have you read Splinter of the Mind's Eye?
I did when I was like 13 or 14.
Okay.
So it's been quite some time, but yeah, they did have that at my school's library.
Nice.
And I, much like I am now, was a fan of Star Wars and wanted some more. And it just felt like a nice bite-sized adventure with the Star Wars gang. I don't remember a lot about the particulars of the plot or anything like that.
Sure.
But if current trends continue, we should not be surprised if more of this old expanded universe stuff is mined for more details and plot threads and characters.
Sure.
And they start plucking out things here and there that they like and putting it into new stuff. So I would not be surprised if Splinter of the Mind's Eye is on the chopping block for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you?
But I think the more important story here, though, is that as scummy as Disney was, they were kind of forced to capitulate, and it's important to remember in the age of AI and AI generated stuff that it's super important to pay artists and to make sure that they're properly compensated for their work. And whether it's a corporation that does it or someone with an AI tool, it's still theft. It's still or plagiarism. It's still bad.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it turned out okay, and he got paid, because there's plenty of artists in history who have had no such recourse.
Yeah. And do we know if, oh gosh, what was not Disney, but the other one, the other organization with regards to like,
the Star Wars or the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association?
No, not that. It was the other, not like Universal. Yes. Do we know if they ever paid up?
I would be very surprised if they didn't.
Yeah.
I can't find anything definitive on that. Okay. But
yeah,
I believe it would still be a stink right. if they did not.
If they all just did that. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
But
anyway, go buy some art. Go make sure your artists are paid, because that is not great. Any final thoughts on Alan Dean Foster, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, the publishing industry? What do you got, Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I really enjoy about sort of these contribution episodes that we do is, you know, I think it's easy to make kind of an offhanded statement of, oh my gosh, there's so many people involved in the making of a movie or the development of something, right? You know, between all of the writers and the costuming and the prop and the guys running cameras and the music and all of the things. But there's this whole other element of Star Wars contributors and worlds that you wouldn't know. You know, I was not familiar with Alan Dean Foster or even Splinter of the Mind's Eye, even in a lot of the books that Bruce had. You know, I was like, oh, they made novelizations, and oh, there's all of these, like, I loved how you called them side quests, like these like different, you know, pieces. And so it's nice to take the time and recognize someone who's contributed to something of the bigger universe that you know, you never would have known before. So, and I'm glad that, you know, the mouse paid up and did the right thing, because otherwise it would put a damper on the love of Star Wars and other nerdum stuff.
Yeah. It is interesting too, because film is such a collaborative medium where you have teams and dozens of people working like crazy, and it's a million different moving parts just to get one movie made. Whereas writing a novel, being an author in general, is a very solitary craft. So it's people like Alan Dean Foster, where you can have a Star Wars medium or a Star Wars like story, bit of content that although it's got like the George Lucas stamp on it, is very much like comes from the mind of one person instead of like this whole collaborative thing. So
for sure.
If that tickles your fancy, go check out Splinter of the Mind's Eye. It's probably not hard to find. I'm sure it's on the Kindle store if you want a digital copy, or wherever fine books are sold, or your local library.
There you go. There you go.
All right. With that out of the way, let's go ahead to the Twitter trash compactor.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right, Heather, what have we got here?
Yes. So, last week's episode, there was much conversation about the AI world out there. And so, our question on Twitter or X or whatever I'm supposed to call it nowadays is on the AI/deep fake content, who owns it? So we put out 3 options, and we have the creator, the company, or the public. Well, Aaron, we've just talked about this in regards to who owns what content and how scary it could be for AI to jump in and take care of things.
Mm-hmm.
Who owns that content? The creator, the company, or the public?
I've been going back and forth on this personally because, like, I think I've even said it before that, like, it belongs to the people. And, like, once art is out there, then it's kind of out into the world and it's not really under the control of the creator anymore. Yep. I still kind of believe that, but with the caveat that, like, the artist should be paid first. Mm-hmm. And sure. It's when it comes to, like, who owns what and copyright law and all that, it's always going to be this huge tug of war between making sure that artists are properly compensated for their work, but also that you can't just make something and squat on it forever. Recognizing that, like, some degree of public ownership is good in terms of fostering creativity, remixes, that sort of thing. I don't need to justify the value of that, but I think in that tug of war, the artists have been on the losing side for so often that I'm willing to lean towards them in this answer. So I think it's a bit more nuanced than saying, like, just one person owns art whenever it's made. But for the benefit of those who continually get screwed over, like Alan Dean Foster, I'm going to have to say the creator.
Excellent. Yes, I think the person who creates the content owns the content. So I would agree with you on that. And I think in a civilized world, there is something of sharing art or art appreciation. You know, it's fun going to cons and seeing Artist Alley and seeing interpretations of an original piece of artwork through someone else's lens. And it's not I've created this character, now it belongs to me. It's no, I appreciate what was created, and now here's a creative spin on it through a different lens. And so I do think like you're saying, there's an element of it being kind of to the public as well. And I think that's flattery, and that's a acceptance of something. So, but yes, the ownership, I think, is the creator. But Aaron, I'm sad to say we are alone on our little island.
Oh no. What did Twitter have to say about this?
So it actually, of the 3 options, it's split 50-50 between the company and the public, and nobody voted for the creator.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm not sure who Twitter. Those people were and what's going on, but I mean, I can side with the people who said the public, because we've talked about that. But yeah, the company.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird hill to die on.
Yeah, just a little. So I don't know. That's all I know. Maybe that's why it's the trash compactor.
Oh, there it is.
Oh. I'm all about a bad joke. What can I say?
All right.
All right.
With that, let's go ahead and jump into news of the week.
Dun, dun, dun. All
All right, Heather, what have we got?
We have items, friends. All right. So our first news item comes from Collider.com.
Collider?
The man Collider. That's the weirdest name for a website.
Collider?
Oh, that's better.
Okay.
Collider. Let's run with Collider. Okay.
All right.
Okay. That's not the news item, though. The news item is The Mandalorian and Grogu will be the next Star Wars movie to hit theaters. And it looks like the film is likely to arrive in 2026.
Oh, dang. We got a date.
We've got kind of. So is it a date? We have a year. We have.
Oh, that's the.
Do you see it? Do you see the connect? It's the thing. So
tight.
So the title "The Mandalorian Grogu" was out there a little while ago in some news, but we basically have a 2026 release. We know that Pedro's reprising his role, and it's setting up a plot for the upcoming 4th season of the series.
Okay.
Our good friend Dave Filoni is going to helm the movie, so we can take a small sigh of relief there because we trust in Dave to unify the storylines from the current and upcoming series. So, I mean, I don't need to go into all of the nuances of this, but 2026, Aaron, can we wait that long?
I sure can.
Okay, great.
I'm patient about that, but yeah, we have been spoiled when it comes to Star Wars movies, shows, content constantly for the past decade. So I think we could survive a little bit of a break.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous because the title we've already talked about being kind of like, all right.
I'm willing to bet that title's going to change between now and then.
Okay.
Very well could be wrong, but we'll see.
Awesome. Well, it's
a bet.
We trust in the people behind the show. So. Okay. Oh, there we go. Sorry, my computer froze. All right, our second news item tonight. Okay, this is from theguardian.com. Gina Carano sues Disney and Lucasfilm over firing in a suit paid for by Elon Musk.
Yep, we're going there.
All right, let's do it. So Gina, who played Cara Dune, is now being backed with money from Elon Musk and is now suing Disney. So she was accused of, oh gosh, why can't I say that word? Denigrating? Okay. Denigrating people based on their culture and religious identities on social media posts. She's used her online presence to share a post that implied that being a Republican is similar to being a Jewish. During the Nazi Germany, some ridiculous mask wearing. Wow, that's bad. Okay, so after a long fan campaign, she was removed from the show in 2021 and then dropped by her agency, UTA. So she claims that to have used words not with aggression, but with respect in the occasional comedy to keep the mood light in dark times. But in a new complaint filed this week, she is claiming she was harassed and defamed for having right-wing opinions and refusing to conform to those held by Disney and Lucasfilm. She's also claiming that her male co-stars were allowed to post derogatory statements about Republicans without punishment. So Carano is claiming wrongful discharge and sexual discrimination, seeking $75,000 in damages, and a court order that would reinstate her on the hit series. Aaron, what are our gut reactions to this?
It's kind of pathetic. Just gonna have to say it. Kind of pathetic. First of all, she was not fired from the show. She had they declined to renew her contract, which in effect is the same thing, but legally very different. When a company fires you, and it depends on the state, because a lot of states are just at will and they can fire you for whatever reason. When a company fires you, there's laws in place that they have to follow certain procedures, assuming they're not an at-will employment state, which I don't believe California is. It could, but I'm not sure. If they decline to renew your contract, then that is completely within their right to do, and they don't have to give a reason for it or anything. And more to the point, that's pretty common for TV shows. You don't maybe like your top stars on the TV show, you have contracts in place for X number of seasons, but for like especially guest stars, then it's basically one and done. Like you're on for a season, you're on for a few episodes, and that's kind of it. They decide to bring you back, then they'll get you a new contract. But that's all there is to it. When you're on a show that is fairly popular, and is raking in a lot of dough, and you keep mouthing off on social media, and your co-star tells you to knock it off, and you don't, and the showrunner like goes to bat for you and tells you to knock it off, and then you don't, and then they decide to not do business with you because you're spouting off these insane things on Twitter. I don't really have a lot of like empathy for you. Nor do you have much of like a legal leg to stand on. I really don't think she has any kind of case here for like why she was like wrongfully terminated. Because first of all, she wasn't terminated, and secondly, like if you're trying to prove like some kind of discrimination, this ain't it. Because First Amendment protections are in for state and federal authorities. It has a private company can absolutely choose not to associate themselves with you because of something that you say. And I know there's a whole thing with her going to the Daily Wire, and they were going to do a whole thing with her, and she was going to be the next big star to legitimize the Daily Wire as like a movie making enterprise. And I don't think they've done anything with her in like 2 years. So that's why it feels pathetic to me. It feels like, oh, this move that I made to go with the Daily Wire to have my career take off didn't play out, and now she's got no choice but to double down on it. And with Elon getting involved, I have no idea what's going on there, but it's, what can I say except pathetic?
Yeah. I mean, so it looks like in 2023, Elon Musk pledged to help anyone who had faced employment discrimination over what they posted on the platform, which Twitter, now X. So in a statement, the head of business operations, Joe Benaroque, as a sign of X Corp's commitment to free speech, we're proud to provide financial support for Gina Carano's lawsuit, empowering her to seek vindication of her free speech rights on X and the ability to work without bullying, harassment, or discrimination.
Okay.
So that's, I guess, how they got involved. But
I wonder
also,
if,
yeah, go ahead.
Is this like Elon Musk personally getting involved with this particular case, or just by virtue of the fact that he made that promise on Twitter, and then like Twitter's getting involved?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know. Thoughts on this, Heather?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember seeing this and I was like, isn't I thought we had forgotten about her. Not like in a bad way, but just like it just felt like old news. Like it just felt like so much time had passed since her departure from the show to now be going to court about this a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, no one knows what actually happens on set except for those people that are on set and statements. And if her comments per this article about how her co-stars could make statements without punishment, what does that mean? What were those statements? Is it truly she said something that someone didn't like, or it was the minority, whatever? But I don't know. I don't know enough about it, I think, to make a decision, but it just feels a little like, wow, this kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah. You can be a conservative or have right-wing opinions without also being a hateful bigot.
Well, there's that.
So it feels very disingenuous to be claiming that this is about holding political views. Mm-hmm. And I think at a certain point it becomes a bridge too far, and it's you got to have your toys taken away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
Disney and Lucasfilm have yet to make any statement, which probably for the best.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, we'll see what happens, but it seems kind of like a cry for help.
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Whew. TMZ and every other, platform out there. Our very beloved Carl Weathers passed away at the age of 76.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you say? I mean, he not only was within our Star Wars universe, he was within Rocky. Yeah, just a really cool guy.
Yeah.
So it just sort of sucks.
It really does. But lived a long life. Passed away peacefully at home, while surrounded by loved ones. That's really the best you could ask for. Let's be honest.
Yes, exactly. So, but yeah, I think it'll be. I didn't know he was a football player.
Oh yeah, he was a football player. He's done everything.
The more you know. I feel like just put that soundbite in there. So yes, so that was super sad, but glad that we get to honor him through these articles and social media posts that I've seen. So
yeah,
as always, thoughts and prayers for that families. Okay, what else we got? We've got
a fourth one?
Well, I mean, we're just here for all kinds of things. So, February 7th, yesterday of this recording, was Star Wars Podcast Day. We celebrated 25 years of Star Wars podcast as Jedi Talk, which premiered in 1999.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Happy podcast day. Star Wars podcast, eh?
Yeah.
It's a weird, like, I guess, subculture, community, network that we have with Star Wars podcasts. So yeah, if you've enjoyed a Star Wars podcast or two in your time, go check out some new ones, maybe see what's out there, because it's 25 years. There's a lot of pods out there.
There are lots of good content, lots of different viewpoints.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. All right, but yes, I have a bonus item.
I knew
from
it.
Variety.com. Disney is investing $1.5 billion.
Oh my God.
The Fortnite developer Epic Games, our biggest foray into the game space ever, according to Mr. Iger.
Okay.
It's crazy. So they've entered into the strategic relationship with Epic Games, the maker of Fortnite, to not only invest in the company, but we're also creating a huge Disney universe.
Oh my God.
I know. Further information provided by Disney, quote, in addition to being a world-class games experience and in operating with Fortnite, the new persistent universe will offer a multitude of opportunities for consumers to play, watch, shop, and engage with content, characters, and stories from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, Avatar, and more. Players, gamers, and fans will be able to create their own stories and experiences, express their fandom in distinctive Disney ways, and share content with each other in the ways that they love.
Wait a minute. Didn't they try this already? With Disney Infinity?
I remember Disney Infinity. Is this the same thing? Are they trying to pull the wool over our eyes?
It sure sounds like it. Because Disney Infinity was a video game series developed by Avalanche Software, and the setting was a giant customizable universe of imagination known as the Toy Box, populated with all their IP. Yeah, and they closed down in 2016. So that kind of disappeared. Seems like they're just trying to do that again, but with a larger, more major studio. So,
huh?
Yeah, I have no idea what that's gonna look like, but I wonder too if because Disney Plus subscribers are going down. I wonder if they're just trying to hedge their bets and try to get as many revenue streams as possible. And Fortnite is the game that refuses to die, and apparently is still super profitable. So I'm not surprised.
It has a lot of people engaged in it. Go to where the people are. Huh.
For sure.
Interesting. This is hard for me. I'm not a video game person. I have great respect for people who play it and are into those things. It's just not something that has ever held my attention, but creating your own world, it's like Sims for Disney, but cooler.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. What is Fortnite? Isn't that's not the cube building one, is it?
No, that's Minecraft.
That's Minecraft.
Fortnite is kind of similar. It's it's a huge level that you play in, and there's a ton of other different players that are connected at the same time, and there's building involved where you're trying to build different structures to help you survive, but you're also kind of running around shooting each other, but there's also different abilities. Gonna be honest, haven't played it. I've watched some videos about it. I'm only tangentially familiar with it, but they keep having expansion packs where they like add new characters all the time, and it's a big free for all. So they're not trying. There's like a aesthetic to the game, but they're not like. It's not like adding Kermit the Frog to like Super Smash Brothers.
Okay.
They're not trying to maintain like one core look or feel or like any kind of story or anything. It's just kind of a big free for all toy box where they throw in a bunch of different characters from different franchises. Like I think John Wick was a character in there. They do a lot of like licensing tie-ins with different movies and games and shows and stuff like that. Ahsoka is a character in there that you could play as. I believe they like cycle them out too, so you can like play as different ones, and a lot of this is just like cosmetic, so it's basically like buying a new look for your character, but it doesn't like make you more powerful than other players. So in that sense, it's like fair as in terms of like being able to buy stuff. But yeah, they make money hand over fist, and they have for years. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, 1.5 billion. That's a huge investment.
Yeah, I mean, there's something cool about if you are a Disney fan in any of their avenues of output, to interact with characters or interact with locations from movies or things, or even the parks, if that's part of it. And I mean, it sounds cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder if they might open up like their own studio within Epic Games and basically have their Disney version of Fortnite with just all of their own characters.
Yeah.
But again, that brings you right back to Disney Infinity.
Sure.
So I don't know. Maybe they just want to give it another try.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was my bonus item, and now I am done.
All right. Means it's time for Cantina Chat. All right, the part of the show we talk about everything geeky and weird going on with our lives. Heather, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Yeah, I much schooling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just getting myself ready for classes every week. Homework, it's gotten definitely to a different level. I feel like they're pushing us and challenging us more. So my brain feels a little mushy, you know, when you have to learn something new and you're like, I have no room for more content.
Oh no, I have to throw out some Star Wars to make room.
I mean, you're gonna guess something's gotta go. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I unfortunately I haven't been doing like super ton of nerd stuff recently, but I've been doing a lot of like other nerd things. I've been doing a lot of kind of like going through stuff around my house and like cleaning and gutting. I've been doing a lot of like pictures and like getting stuff hung up on walls. So like, you know how you buy like little postcards at a con and you're like, oh, I'm going to frame these one day. Well, guess what? The day has arrived.
One day is here.
Getting crapped up. So I've been doing a lot of like that kind of stuff around my house and feeling like homey and nerding out that way a little bit. But like I haven't really done anything like new TV watching or new movies or engaged in anything in that regards. I am definitely getting excited for like probably like March when it gets a little bit warmer in this area. See what kind of troops open up for me. February in this area can just be hard, although we're kind of having a little bit of a heat wave right now.
Yeah. It was like 50 degrees today.
So, but yeah, otherwise I haven't been very nerdy. I feel like something might be wrong.
Well, it can't always be nerdy all the time.
Not all the time.
Sometimes you gotta get some stuff done.
It's true. It's true. But no, it's been good. It's just been work and school and other things. But
all right.
yeah. Aaron, have you been nerdy?
Yes. Not as much as you would think. It's been one of those weeks where it just like it goes by and then I just suddenly look up and I'm like, what? Where'd it go?
Yeah, for sure.
Been terribly busy in a lot of things in life. It's just one of those weeks. But I have been playing some Baldur's Gate 3 with my girlfriend,
Nice.
continuing with that campaign. It's going to be forever till we finish that, but that's okay. I ran a session of my Star Wars RPG this weekend. That was a hoot. That was a holler. And it was one of those sessions where I was basically able to just like step back and let the players like role play together and talk amongst themselves, and they ended up making a ton of fun for themselves. So that's always kind of rewarding as a DM to be able to like sit back and like this world that you've created, like other people like want to play in it. So there's something gratifying about that. And I've been watching this one's for you, Carla. I've been watching Critical Role. A few years ago, they did a kind of mini series called Exandria Unlimited Calamity. And so if you're not familiar, Heather, Critical Role, it's like a web show where a bunch of voice actors play D&D, and it's long. It's long. The whole campaign is like 100 to 120 episodes, each of them being like 4 hours in length, sometimes longer.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that long. Okay.
Yeah, it's a whole commitment. But Calamity is only 4 episodes long. Granted, one of the episodes is like 5 hours long, and the other is like 6. But it's much more manageable. So I've been watching that with my girlfriend. We just finished episode 3, and we're saving episode 4 for this weekend. And she's told me that part 4 is like the best D&D she's ever seen. So I don't know. I'm really engaged with the story and the character so far. Cool. I know it's all going to come crashing down in the matter of a single episode. Sure. So I'm getting ready. We will have tissues on standby. Yeah, I don't know. It could go anywhere. But yeah, super cool. That's about it, I'm afraid. Not a ton of time for more nerd stuff. But luckily, to carry the load of Cantina Chat this week, Todd has written in. Todd watched a Netflix documentary called Challenger, The Final Flight. Of course, about the shuttle disaster. He remembers it as a kid, but it was very interesting what actually went down. Highly recommend it. He also watched World War II in color, Road to Victory, narrated by John Boyega. Really amazing footage in color. And he also started reading Skywalkers at the Pentagon, which, reading between the lines here, I believe that's more of a like a supernatural conspiracy theory book, not like Star Wars at the Pentagon. I could be wrong, but that is my educated guess. So sad about Carl Weathers. Bummed me out this whole weekend. What a great man, and it was so cool seeing him really enjoying Star Wars and Mando. A great loss. Best clip is the Rocky 3 training montage, and yes, that is 100% correct. Go look that up on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It is just a magical moment caught on film. Go 49ers. They're a
Football.
team. I hope they play the sports ball harder than the other team plays the sports ball. And that about does it for this introvert episode of WSTR.
I love that.
So you can find us on the socials. Myself at Aaron Julian, Carla at Carla Marie Giac, Heather at Hawk Awesome, Todd at Tizad, and of course we're part of the Red 5 Network, a wonderful network of Star Wars podcasts. We want to hear from you, so please comment, tweet, rate us on Apple Podcasts. If you give us a 5-star rating, we'll throw you some swag. You can catch our entire back catalog of episodes at podcast.wstrmedia.com. We got merch over at store.wstrmedia.com, and we are on Patreon, patreon.com/wstrmedia. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us in the YouTube chat over at livestream.wstrmedia.com. And if you want to drop us a line, email us at mailbox@wstrmedia.com or give us a call at 630-557-WSTR. That's 630-557-9787. That way you can leave us a voicemail and be featured on an upcoming episode. Next week, we're going to be doing an Imperial inspection on Rose with our friends Sarah and Amanda from the Women of Star Wars podcast. Ooh. So you won't want to miss that. All right, Heather, there's only one way to end this show. Now this is podcasting. Artists get paid. And we are clear.